Do what?
I know, like, I have a couple of friends that are sick right now, too. It's that time
Oh,
of
yeah.
year. Hi, Crystal.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Great.
Good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I know Millie's coming this time. I just
Yay.
talked to her.
Your hair looks awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks
That's
really
like good. I just saw you on live, girl.
I saw you pop in there, sister.
good.
Saw you pop in there. There she is.
Millie.
Hi, darling.
Hi.
Hi. Can you hear us? She's
Hi,
here.
Millie.
Guys, we're
Hi.
all together. Wee.
We're all here. Hugs.
Aw.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for us to play in person.
I know.
It's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, now's a better time than ever. So retreat weekend is going to be in January. Okay. And we're going to plan for the 18th through the 21st. That's the good one for you, right, Gianna?
Yes. The 18th is a Thursday. Is that what you mean?
So let me explain. So Thursday evening, we will actually, is it Friday? No. So actually, I'm mistaken. So it's actually Friday evening. Friday evening, we're going to get together and then do just like kind of like a in-person, like little hangout party, get to, you know, just like hug each other for the first time, that kind of stuff. I mean, I've had the blessing of doing that with all of you.
That's true.
Yeah, we're recording. Okay, cool. And then we're going to go full day Saturday. I'll give you time details and logistics and everything. Usually I don't settle the place until it'll probably be like a couple more weeks. But we'll do all day Saturday, and then most of the day Sunday. We'll go into the afternoon. It won't go full day because I know there's like travel schedules and things like that. So I want to make sure you guys get back for your Monday activities. But just giving you a heads up for that. Okay.
Cool. Yay. I'm going to put it on my calendar.
Awesome.
Yay. And that's going to be in LA-ish area?
So
probably?
it'll be in SoCal. I'm feeling more drawn to San Diego, to be honest.
Okay.
But that's still being settled. But yeah, San Diego just has like a more calm energy for the work that we're going to be doing. So that's what I'm feeling most drawn to. Okay. Welcome to call 5. Holy crap. We're in now the second half of our journey together. And so, you know, this is a great point. I want to just kick off the call with tune back into your visions. Tune back into your visions. We're not going to necessarily do that right this second, but after this call later today, I want you to tune back into what it is that you really set out to create in this time together. Okay? This is usually where I notice like a kind of like cranking up on the notch a little bit of level of participation and really playing full out. Because the truth is, this is a totally unique and special collection of women coming together in this way. Like we will likely, other than the retreat, but there might be some other amazing women joining us as well. Like this is a special constellation of women, and there's a reason why we've all been brought together. And I appreciate, Millie, what you shared a little bit earlier of just like, yeah, in your video, you're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't want to miss a call again. Like, not that you set out to do that, but what I felt in you saying that is like, this is really special. And it was on the theme of like isolating. I don't know if you guys were able to listen to Millie's video.
I haven't yet. I want to, but not yet.
Awesome. Oh my God. So many great insights. It's so cool.
It was my first time ever doing Facebook Live. So just bear with me because
you nailed it, girl. You totally nailed it.
Yeah.
But she mentioned in there of just like how easy it is to isolate and not even realize you're doing it. You know? Same. Oh my God. I still am. My friends are like, okay, why have you been doing that? Like alone, like trying to figure that out. I'm like, I just forgot for a second that anyone was there for me because I was like,
That's basically, I forget people exist like in my world because I'm so used to, I don't know what it is, like giving, right? And so then in that moment where we're to receive, it's almost like I forgot how to communicate that.
totally.
Hey,
Well done.
yeah.
It's like, oh, I get to like, be on the receiving end of all those years of support for everyone else. And even I want to just speak to the piece, like Gianna, you mentioned this on our call last week of like, I don't even know what I would like say. I don't even know what I would like, talk about. Cause I'm just like cause we're all very self-aware women, like we're in this process all the time. And you might as well just, okay, so if we know how to do it by ourselves, well, you might as well just like play the game of like, well, I wonder what else is possible. Like, I wonder what perspectives I might come to or what healing words someone might have to say with me, and even with each other, like, remember you've got each other's phone numbers now, and it does take intention at first, but so bringing it back to the, theme of our conversation here, as we get started, we're in the second half of the program. Really optimally, like optimize this, like really leverage this in your world, reach out, share more, share the things that normally you would be just like, oh, that's a cool thing that happened today. But when you share it, it becomes something more, like there's more gratitude, there's more celebration, there's a pause where you took time to put that in there. And then all of a sudden you're witnessed as well. And we get to celebrate with you because you guys know I like celebrating with you. I think you probably got that feeling along the way. So more of that. Okay. So be sure to check back in on your visions. Okay. And if you need any other specific support around how to reach those, even support from your sisters of how to keep you accountable, whatever that is, post it in the group. Okay.
Okay.
So welcome to Call 5. Call 5, we're talking energetic harmony. Whoop, whoop. We're talking balance between masculine and feminine energies. Okay, so this is a huge topic. Seriously, I could do a whole course on just this. Maybe I will. But for today, we have 75 minutes together. So, but what I ultimately want to do is just create more conversation and dialogue amongst us of, okay, on the ground level, what are we actually talking about? Because it's great to talk about it in like, energy and concept and things like that. But okay, how does like feminine energy actually translate? How does healthy masculine energy translate to our everyday? That's the conversation I want to have today. Okay. So I want to give just a quick background of why this is so important right now, especially at this moment in history. Because sometimes we're in our to-do, like, day-to-day stuff. And when we zoom out and really see the full scope of what's happening, we get it on a different level. Okay, so I remember sitting in my spiritual mentor's yoga studio back in Cleveland. And I think it was like 2009 or 2010. I worked with this woman one-on-one for 4 years. I would go have like monthly sessions with her. And it was just, wow. Like she opened my eyes to so much. And I remember her telling me it was right around 2012 because that's when the energy shift happened. So do you guys remember all the hoopla around the Mayan calendar and how the calendar is going to end, the world's going to end? Do you remember that? Yeah. So that has some significance for this conversation because in the mystical like worlds, metaphysical worlds, what actually happened on, I think it was December 23rd or 22nd of 2012 is that we shifted from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. What the hell does that mean? Okay, so age of Pisces was a very patriarchal time. There was a lot of masculine energy and very disempowered masculine energy, meaning war, violence, fear-based leadership in the church and beyond. So this is where it's been going on for like many hundreds of thousands of years. And so this is why it's significant to be alive right now, because when we're talking about the new paradigm of feminine leadership, we are alive in a time where we are relearning this modern day culture is relearning how to incorporate and bring in the feminine, because when we switch from age of Pisces, which is predominantly masculine, to age of Aquarius is now welcoming in the feminine energy on a collective level. This is why the word goddess is now in mainstream. This is the reason why we have Instagram accounts of how witchy, our rituals are, right? Like the feminine is making a resurgence, and that's at a very like basic level. But even this creation came about after that switch. Courage of Ease, immersion group program came about after that time, because this is in our collective energy right now. So it's a really powerful conversation to be a part of. And I also want to say that you ladies are at the forefront of this conversation, right? We in our healing arts and in our like worlds forget just how ahead of the curve we are. I know I do all the time until I get reflections from people of like, wow, no one else I know is doing life like that. I'm like, oh yeah. Like I forget. I'm so close to it. Like who else can say their life feels as good as any vacation? Like not a lot of people, so it means I'm doing something different. Okay. But I'm so close to it all the time and just doing the thing. Right. So I want you to know that even this conversation, and Krista, I remember our one of our first conversations about coaching, you're like, yeah, I want to know, like, what is this feminine energy thing that I keep hearing about? Like, I want to actually get it better. And so this conversation is a steward of exactly that conversation. Okay, so I wanted to bring that meta level view, because at the ground level, that's what we're helping to do. Every time we choose to take a nap instead of grinding through, we're helping to raise. Literally a daily occurrence in my world now. Believe it or not, that nap, that choice is a part of raising human consciousness. Mm-hmm. It really actually is. Mm-hmm. It's wild. Such a simple act. And when we're judging ourselves as lazy, right? Millie and I just chatted about that. I'm still breaking that habit. Then we're cutting down the flow of energy that's really wanting to go towards restoration, which is the other half of ourselves. Half of us is masculine energy. Half of us is feminine energy. We're not talking gender here. We're talking energy, and every human on the planet has masculine and feminine energies, different proportions, but it is half of the conversation. Okay, so being able to take a nap in the middle of our day and then go back and be even more effective than normal is completely against the conditioning of the 8-hour school day or the 8-hour work day, where it's like grind, grind, grind. Don't take into account your emotions or your well-being. Produce, produce, produce. That is so age of Pisces. That is like hashtag so yesterday. Okay. So let's talk about what the masculine and feminine actually look like on the ground level. Okay. So there's the disempowered and unhealthy masculine, feminine, and then there's also the healthy and empowered masculine and feminine. So what are some examples, and we'll just get the conversation started. If you have questions, let me know, of the disempowered masculine energy. Let's start getting the wheels turning here.
Or I guess stoic, or not showing emotion.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one.
Totally.
Let's see. I feel like in some aspects, and especially speaking with some of my male friends, like the pressure to be the producer or be the main source of that, I guess, bringing it in kind of energy can be daunting without understanding the interplay. So it's like, I feel like that can go both ways. It all depends on the mindset and the exchange, I guess.
Totally. Yeah. And the container in which, and the agreements, I mean, there's a lot of factors there, but also that's bringing a very high level of consciousness to a conversation of talking agreements and container and context and all of that. The disempowered one is just reacting to what's taught, right? Yeah. Blindly, because there hasn't been another avenue opened up. right? So even living life in a default reactionary way is, you know, a disempowered masculine way of like, you're acting from just the reaction, from the fear, from the stress, right? So that's an example. Krista, Gianna, you have any ideas here? It can feel a little abstract at first.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the term, but I'm just blanking on like a specific example. I was thinking like leading without listening, but I'm not really sure how to say that in another way.
That was pretty clear.
Yeah,
That was really clear, actually. Yeah.
all right.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, because then there's that fear of, I have to say something to prove a point. I have to like find my own worthiness in this conversation by like asserting myself blindly, not listening to the overall tone and energy and flow of the conversation, right? It's just kind of like self-serving. So maybe even like self-serving is an aspect of the disempowered, even, you know, masculine and feminine as well, right? Grinding ourselves into the ground and not resting.
Yeah, I was going to say decrease body awareness. So I think, and this is like pretty much every man I know just powers through physical discomfort in a way that they don't necessarily, like they just, it's as if they don't know how to take care of themselves, but I know that's not it. It's just conditioning. Like they're just used to not doing it for themselves in a sense.
Totally. And they've never been shown anyone that has done that or given them permission. And for women too, you know, like that's very alive and well in my family, in the women in my family, right? Of not just going, not having to prove something all the time. That's a disempowered thing too. Yeah. Krista, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I feel like I kind of live in that world 24/7. So it's like everything you're saying, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of my world that I'm in. So, especially working in a gym environment and with people that are very masculine dominant, it is how much work are you going to get done? It's even like today, I'm sick today, so I left work to come home and just take care of myself. And, you know, it's like, well, how much work did you get in before you can leave? That type of feel. So I'm actually in the process of trying to break through some of those, that masculine feel of work, constantly drive yourself. Because it's around me all the time. I'm trying to break through. It's hard for me to even stay in check with it a lot of the times because it is the world that I'm in. And honestly, here in Abilene, Texas, culture has not shifted here to even pay attention to the feminine. I mean, it is just kind of unheard of. It has this language of lazy and selfish. So, I'm just really taking a lot of this in because I'm really just getting awareness for myself right now in the culture that I'm in and trying to pay attention to what is masculine energy, what is feminine energy, and the balance between the two. Because it is a brand new awareness to me, which is really exciting. It's awesome.
Totally. Yeah. And I remember when this conversation first surfaced for me, same deal, girl.
Yeah.
Whoa. I was in a primarily male IT department where the idea of even wearing a dress to work made you stand out too much and might question your ability to do your work.
That I just had that conversation with somebody the other day. They said, I saw a picture of you on Facebook in a dress. What the heck? Like, I would never see you in a dress. I'm like, well, I'm a girl. Yeah. I like dresses. So weird.
You know, everyone always gets surprised when I dress up because I am a little tomboyish, or, you know, that's the term that's used in my family, like, oh, Amelia tomboy. But it's just like, I feel like I'm in a similar position. Like I've done some work to start receiving more, and I feel like that's what's in that feminine. But every example even that I've had of professional women, it's all women that had to fight to get their education, had to fight to even work. Like my mom's friends in New York, none of them actually have professional positions. They have jobs, but my mom was running 2 practices and she was boss lady, and that was my example, and she's actually who inspired me to go for all of it. But at the same time, I can see now how that drive, that masculine drive, has put her in a position where it's hard for her to receive. And you know, I lived with her for a year and a half, being licensed and able to practice, and she still won't sit down for a treatment for more than 20 minutes. It's just like, okay, mom, okay. But it's generational too. It's like cultural, generational. Coming here, I feel like it opens stuff up, but at the same time, everyone that I look up to, they're all entrepreneurs, and most of them following the male model of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So the balance has been something that I've struggled with since I decided that I was going to be a rich boss lady.
I'm sorry. Exactly. Like, we're not breezing past that.
Millie, rich boss lady.
Can I tell you? So someone, when I was really little, and I remember this so clearly, they're like, Millie, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh my
I
God.
just looked at them, I'm like, I want to be a boss.
Yes, girl. This shit's in your DNA.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. I love it so much.
So wear your dresses. It'll be fine. They'll get used to it.
That's exactly right.
I'm still getting used to it.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, I know, oh, this is good. Whoa. Coming through fire, y'all. I know I'm doing loving service for the divine feminine when my feminine expression triggers the fuck out of people.
Yeah.
Oh shit. I've never even thought of it that way. But I've come to peace knowing that I don't just throw around the word visionary for fun. I actually see a world that does not exist yet. And I am a steward for bridging those 2 realities, as are each and every single one of you. You know? So, but it starts with the awareness. Like, we've got to know the dynamics at play and not prioritize one better than the other. It's about acceptance of both. It's about creating harmony, which is why I call it energetic harmony, because harmony doesn't come from the feminine's way better than the masculine. It's like, no, we live in a universe of duality. We need both. Literally that tension, right? We talked about that last time, the DNA strand. That tension is what holds shit together. So, but it can hold stuff together and also be eroding because we're resisting what is. You know, we're making one better over the other. We're sending daggers to people who are stepping out to be more authentically expressed and soul aligned. You know, or we could say, if you can have that, so can I. Right? So you all are blazing lighthouses, like blazing a light, like beaming light in your communities of what else is possible. And it's only going to continue, and it's only going to shine brighter, especially the more comfortable you get in your own skin as you do that. And when you're I use this analogy with Millie earlier. Like there's this like thread through your life, this like river of ease, which again, I've never said before, but it's so perfect. It's like, I can either like coast down that river and allow that ease to carry me and guide me, or I can flip my ass around and be like, just like hauling ass all the way up the river my whole life, you know? Oh, yeah. But I have a feeling I've done that enough. Right? That's what brought you to this conversation anyway, is enough. Okay, so struggling to swim upstream against current is the example of the disempowered masculine to a T. Okay, disempowered feminine. Let's talk about that a little. Wow. Because this is also something that is alive and well in my family that I've been getting whispers of. So just to share vulnerably and candidly, earlier this week, I was in a just like real like emotional slump because my sister and her boys, my sister and her husband, and then the two boys traveled back to Ohio earlier this week. I was like trying to make it happen, but then it wasn't coming together, and I realized why. The realization I had was because I was trying to not miss out, and I also, this was the core, I didn't want to look bad. I didn't want to be the only family member not there again.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I'm like, that's not the right intention to come from. I'm not going to fly clear across the country when I'm still working on like furnishing my apartment and creating my home to spend $1,500 for me and my boyfriend. First of all, take him to Cleveland in the winter makes no sense.
Like, you'd be so shocked.
Nothing fun to see there or do there.
My East Coast travel dates are blocked from like the end of November to like the beginning of March. It's like a no-go from here on out. I don't do it. It's cold.
I'm so glad I listened because I would have been sitting in an airport like, why am I here again? Like, what? So I had all that emotion come up like I was missing out, but then it's so interesting because my family does this and I get sucked into this. There's this like idealizing that happens of like, oh, it'll be so wonderful when we're together and it's so exciting. But then everyone gets there and they fall right into their little drama spirals. And all I've been hearing about are examples of the disempowered feminine, of how cattiness, shit talking, whispering behind each other's backs, passive aggressively making comments under your breath. My mom feeling so excluded from this little like what do they call it? Not gay. Click. Yeah. This little like click that's happening.
Like we're playing charades.
Yeah. Like this little click that's happening in my family where they're, you know, with the women and they're just like shit talking each other and like tearing down my aunt because like, I'm like, oh, I wonder why sisterhood is my work in the world.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's alive and well, and those are all examples of disempowered feminine.
I have some examples. This one's getting me excited.
Go for it.
I've lived in this for too long. Suppressed expression and communication, like dampening or hiding your voice. People pleasing. I know we talk about that a lot. And numbing out to your emotions. So kind of shutting off, or like you said, choosing to fly across the country just to please people, but you're having to sacrifice your own well-being and your own true desires in order to do it. And then you just resent everyone, including yourself. I know that.
Totally.
So yeah, those are the main ones. I like the passive aggressive too. That's a big one. And also something else that just came up too is like needing to put on a front that everything's fine and that everything's okay.
Oh, that's good.
I see this so much. I saw it just today. Like my friend at school, you know, I know what's going on with her. I know like in a real way, like what's up for her. And, you know, she's going through a pretty fucking hard time right now. It's specific to like this week. And then we were talking and then someone else came over and granted, you know, it's like in the hallway. I understand not wanting to like fully bare your soul to someone, but still like then someone comes up and asks like, oh, how have you been? And it's just like, instantly the response came on of like, oh, cover that shit up, put on a fake smile. It felt so yucky and inauthentic, and it was like obvious, so obvious. And just like, oh, well, doing good, doing fine, like, yesterday was kind of hard, but doing good. And just like totally like made some bullshit up because it was like, and I get it, but I've been learning to just be like, it feels so much better to me to just be real. Even if I don't want to share fully because we're in the hallway or whatever, or it's not someone I'm very close with. Like, I still will just be like, pretty shitty, or like, it's a really hard day. Like, I'm really sad, or like, I really don't want to be here right now. And like, even if that's all I say, like, it feels so much better to me to like just say that. And then I feel, it liberates others to realize like, oh, I can be having a horrible day too, and just be real about that,
Yeah.
instead of, like that, like irks me. And I think that's what women are taught, in our society, like, oh, you're not allowed to show that you're struggling. You put on your smile and like, let people know it's okay. And that runs in my mom's family a lot too, of like, just, and make everyone think and know that you're okay and everything's fine. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I have to say.
Yeah, love. I mean, you nailed it.
Yeah.
And it's just it runs so deep. And also the medicine for that kind of facade is the serum of truth. So even with your friend, to be a loving reflection.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I want to talk to her later.
Of another way, because as easy as you just described how like, oh yeah, it's kind of shitty today. One foot in front of the other, I've had better days. That I remember that not even being a possibility on my radar until I saw or heard someone just put words to it. So a lot of times it's likely that all of you can take for granted these skills that you do have that are gold, like literally the key to unlock the dungeon of like this disempowered or feminine and masculine place that a lot of women live. Okay. So as long as you're coming from a place of, being pono with yourself, like, right. And just offering another perspective, it's likely, and asking consent. Like, is it cool if I like share an idea that I had from earlier? Or is it cool if I just offer a reflection for what I saw earlier? Something where their guard is not going to go up, where it's just like sister to sister, heart to heart, where you're having this conversation with them and they'll be open to it. And maybe not, just respect their boundaries. But yeah, because it's also for us to like have these conversations, have the difficult conversations. That's part of the healing too.
And I've found like in those moments when I'm able to be so raw and real, like just in saying that, oh, there's a hummingbird. Oh, yeah, I know, right? So perfect. So yeah, just even in like saying that, it just opens me up to receive. And it's like so cool, like in moments where like people will like offer random, things for support, or whether it's just like a hug, or like the other night, my roommate like offering to like scrub our other roommate's tub for me in order that I could take a bath in it. Just like, and I almost didn't accept that because I was like, oh my God, I can't make you scrub this dirty ass bathtub that I don't want to touch. Like, that would be horrible. But I'm like, but I really want to take a bath. So just like received it. She so graciously offered it because I was just real. Like, I am in a funk. Like, I feel pretty messed up right now. Like, I need ease. I need to receive and rest. And then she did that for me. So yeah, just the rawness and opening is like, oh, cool. Then what else is possible here to receive?
Totally, love. Kudos on receiving.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How nice of her.
I know. So
That's
sweet.
amazing.
I know. She's a sweetheart.
So sweet. Like, I admittedly don't even think that would cross my mind to like offer to do for someone.
I know.
I'm like, she's a saint in my way.
Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna real like that wouldn't even be on my radar to offer.
Yeah, no, it's really sweet.
So nice. Wow. All right,
So
loves.
playing off of what Gianna said, I feel like
Yeah.
this is one thing that I've noticed with a lot of the women that I know, and it's just carrying the emotional burden for their whole family. So, or their whole community or their group of friends or whatever it may be. It's, I noticed that we're expected to facilitate and express these things, which can be very empowering when met. But if you're responsible for these things without the collaboration, it's really draining. And I see that in a lot of relationships. It just seems like with every generation it improves.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that sticks with me, because same thing, like my sister and I are the ones responsible for facilitating the emotional growth of our family, and this is just what happened. This is the role that we assumed because we saw the need for it. And I mean, it's slowly changing, but it does feel like a burden sometimes. And then the other thing that I personally experienced was rigidity in roles. So I loved sports, and I loved to swim, and I lifeguard. Like everything that I did was always a little bit more on the masculine end of things. So especially with coming from a culture where female and male roles are clearly defined, I was always outside of the norm, and I was always looked at for not participating, not being friends with that catty group of girls, even though it looked good. And so it was almost, for me, because of the rigidity of roles, it was disempowering for me to go with my gut, with the things that I knew that I loved and needed to do, because I'm just not the people-pleasing type. Like I can't, after about 10 minutes of it, I start to like break down and start talking my truth because it stresses me out.
Yeah. It's a lot of energy to hold back
sometimes, but yeah. So I feel like both of those can be really disempowering, just having to fit within these very specific guidelines.
Yeah, it's unnatural.
Yeah.
Think of nature. Nature knows no bounds other than its own nature. So like fish swim in the sea, and they are not flying through the air because they're not built for that. So like the bounds of their nature are their own nature. And so if you think of like the feminine is an unbounded, pure, ecstatic force. I mean, truly, it knows no bounds. It goes everywhere and anywhere and nowhere at the same time. Right? So if you're thinking about a woman, so women come in with equal parts masculine and feminine energy, but there's also something about a woman that tunes us into this inherent visceral she, right? Like the divine feminine. And if you think of a woman who's been caged her whole life of who she's supposed to be, what role she's supposed to play, what school she can or can't go to, what money she can or can't make. It's like boom, boom, boom. It's like our whole life we're bumped up against these like rigid wall, one after another. All those walls, by the way, are completely remnants of the age of Pisces, which is what our work in the world is to dissolve all of that, to come back to community and collaboration and harmony, where we're like including versus excluding, where we're coming back to oneness versus separation. And so these women, all of us, like we end up coming to this point of like breaking point. You wonder why there's nervous breakdowns or midlife crises or like even like mid-20s crises, which is what happened for me. It's just so much. It's so much. It's all this energy that wants to flow through us that keeps getting stuffed back. And we wonder why we end up with autoimmune diseases at age 20 something.
Mm.
That's especially prevalent for women in their 20s and 30s and 40s right now.
You know, women are also more likely to die of fatal heart attacks because we're taught to push through.
Wow.
Men tend to recognize the symptoms earlier and go to the ER earlier, so there's earlier intervention. But with women, they will sit with that pain. They will sit with that sweating, that feeling of tension until it gets to the point where they can't move. And usually they don't survive that fatal heart attack.
Wow.
Wow.
Unless somebody else intervenes earlier.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. And like these conversations are the medicine for that.
Yeah.
Quite directly. Right? Because we are in this awareness. We have this gift of having access to this information. And so it is our divine gift to give it by the way that we be. That's outside of that box. There's no way. And I so get that moment of like, oh, it's fine. I'll get over it, blah, blah, ignore it. And now I think of the contrast to those days. And now it's like every slight energy move, I'm listening. And, it's like this language I'm now speaking with my body. And so just in the way that I carry myself emanates that possibility. And I know the responsibility that I carry with that. Like that's a big deal. And my ability to translate what goes into how I show up is what allows, other women to join me. Mm-hmm. Case in point, like this journey is not meant for us to be perched on our, I always talk about like stepping into the queen energy and like being perched on the hill by yourself. It's not about that anymore. That's age of Pisces. There's hierarchy, there's separation. The new way is there. I saw something on Instagram is like real queens fix each other's crowns. That.
Like that.
Right? Like that's what we're creating now. So let's talk about incorporating. So I know that a lot of, all of us come to the table with defaults in the hypermasculine. Mm-hmm. Hypermasculine really means just kind of like 99% in the masculine, 1% in the feminine when we're sick and we don't have another choice to rest. Totally. That was the only
planned timing. Good job, Krista.
That was the only time. And, I know behind the scenes for Krista that she's far out of that, percentage in the work that she's doing. So please no judgment towards you, Krista.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm still getting over my cold, so whatever.
Like our bodies still have the rhythms and cycles, but let's not let the time when we're sick be the only time we rest.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about creating that harmony. Let's bridge this into real life conversation, real life choices. And I want to also celebrate the work that all of us have been doing, me with each of you and you in your own worlds with the one-on-one work. You have a solid, amazing foundation for this already. Mm-hmm. Okay. And while we're together and we have each other's support, like let's explore what that next level is. Okay. So we know that things like resting and meditation and intuition, right, are all ways that we're tuning into our feminine energy. Okay. And there's also these like, what I love about the Courage of Ease journey is it's a more inward journey with intention around being inward, of like building our relationship in harmony with ourselves first so that we can go out and, create that impact. So let's also, we've all been, you each have been doing like the baths and the journaling and the inner conversations and explorations and all of that. And there's a solid foundation there. So let's talk about how to bring that more out into our everyday world. The first thing that's coming to mind is, a conversation like Gianna's, where she saw her friend, kind of just like default, right? To a default well too, and I know well. right? So there's also that empathy that you feel of like, okay, you're in the middle of the hallway. You've got this conversation going. Like, it's not, you know, you're not going to bare your soul with someone. Okay. So there's just compassion there. There's just like empathy and understanding. Mm-hmm. And then also where that next step comes in of bringing even more healing is to make time with her, to share with her another way, where our default is to avoid a conversation like that, like the plague with another woman, because conflict is bad. Conflict for me with women meant the end of the relationship is imminent. Mm. Mm-hmm. Totally. Like there, and I would see proof of it all the time. I had this one friend who helped me through, my God, the toughest time of my life when my mom was sick. And then the minute I started to like gain my power back, she started behaving really differently with me. And she would like reschedule stuff and like not really acknowledge it later, or like kind of blow me off and then just act as nothing would happen. I'm like, this doesn't feel good. And like, if I'm really this close of a friend with her, I can bring this to her. And I just, you know, I shared with her, it was actually in a conference room at my old job because we used to work together. And I just shared with her, like, it's strange. And it really hurts my feelings when we have plans and then you just kind of like don't show up. And then we're just sitting here pretending as if nothing happened. Like, that doesn't feel good at all. I feel like I'm being fake with you. And her response was total denial and also defensiveness. She just had like no willingness to own her part of it, and also no willingness and probably zero know-how of how to actually have a healthy conversation like that. I was still fumbling through it, so I understand. And the relationship, I mean, she wouldn't talk to me. It was worse than going through any breakup with a guy, that breakup for me with that friend. It was heartbreaking. You know, I missed her and it was so hard. So having these conversations now, it's like I have that conditioning in my background that I've had to heal and let go of, because what I now know to be true, and this is part of the new feminine conversation, is that more leadership in conversations and the willingness to just have those conversations bring more intimacy now. Mm-hmm. It's now intimacy over imminent death of a relationship. That's a far more spacious way to live.
Yeah.
So I share that example because there's these easy ways where we avoid not having the conversation, or we avoid being the only one speaking up in a room. That's, you know, counter to what everyone else is saying. And I actually have a women's event here in the area tonight. And there was a miscommunication between me and the woman that I was hosting at her house. And I thought that it was that I was hosting at her house, that she was offering her home so that the women could come and like, you know, have that connection. She thought we agreed to us co-hosting at her home. So when I posted the Facebook invite and it was like, hey, this is what we're doing. And I just put in there what I would design the event to be. I got a text from her after saying like, hey, but like, could you include me in that description of the event? And I'm like, oh, shit. I look like an egotistical asshole right now. So I cut the cords, do the relief work. And what I actually realized, the deeper meaning for me, is waiting for the invitation. This is part of my human design of waiting until I'm invited in order to
put me too.
You too?
Yeah.
So I was acting before the invitation. Basically, I had this like Superman complex going on of like, I'm coming to Brea and I'm coming to North Orange County and I know how to bring women together and I'm going to do it all for you guys. And no one asked me for that shit. No one asked me, not once. Oh shit, there I go again, trying to make stuff happen. This is the path. So this is what I'm talking about. It's moments like these because my old conditioning is like, oh God, she's going to say the worst things about me. We're never going to talk again. And we're going to bump into each other at the yoga studio. And like, I went through all the worst case scenarios when really it's just another conversation. And her and I are both excited to have the women together tonight. It's going to be like just a relaxed gathering. And also I just want to name my experience of that tension between us so that we can clear that so both of us can be fully present in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Where that stuff would be between us, then we're not present with each other. We're reacting to each other from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's moments like that where we have to go first and lead another way of being before people might even be ready for it. You know, Krista, the way that you like navigated the asking for the extra spending money, right? Just by you, like your leadership came in and showing up to this call last week, naming the dynamics of what was going on, to say like, what are the words? Like, how do I do this? What does this look like? So you were open and available for that collaborative energy to get a new perspective. And then just in hearing those words and the energy of those words, boom, something locked into place. It unlocked, something shifted, you know, Tetris, boom. Energetic Tetris. That's the energetic harmony.
Yeah.
And then you receive that email.
I'll be right back.
Okay. And you receive that email and you didn't even have to actually do anything. It was in your beingness that called it to you.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes leadership is in the unsaid for this stuff as well. So
I do have a question because you mentioned like that conversation you had with your friend when you were back in Cleveland. And this is like a back and forth that me and my best friend have always. I feel like when we were in school, the dynamic was really simple and we studied together, we hung out together. But then when I was going through a really tough time, she started making up all these stories in her mind about all the stuff that I was doing without her. And really, I was just depressed and at home and studying or crying or working. And so, or sleeping. Like those were the 4 things I did during that time. And we got through it. And then she took her boards and I didn't say anything because I was like, when she has to study for this, she'll understand. And she had her own mess of issues. And I think I responded differently than how she responded to me. It was with more compassion and understanding. And she got through it. But and then at pretty much every year I go through this transition, this cycle of inwardness. And we always get into a fight during that time.
Interesting.
And I try my best to explain it, but at the same time, I don't know how to explain what it is that I'm experiencing. And a lot of it is just like, these are the cycles that we go through. And I notice that she goes through the same cycles only 6 months after I do.
Cool.
And so it's like, I experience it, and maybe it's just so that I can provide that compassion for her. It's just, I experience it. She gets mad. We get into a fight. I explain everything that I'm doing, gets better for a little bit of time. Then she goes through something similar, and it's a little easier just because I see exactly what's happening. But I've never been able to facilitate a healthy conversation because it usually comes up during that fight. Like the tension builds and builds and builds, and then something will happen, and then the fight will go. And I'll start crying because I'm like, but I wasn't doing any of those things. Yeah. And then the softness goes through this whole, and it's happened literally every 6 months since I graduated. And I'm kind of over it. And I don't know if I'm just cycling through the friendship or if it's just like, she's just going through a tough time and I'm not anymore.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it was just emotions and how we dealt with or reacted to the life things.
Yep. So these kind of scenarios are perfect things if we're not live on here to bring to the group. I'm going to talk about this one, but this is I love interpersonal like communication stuff. If you've got wonky dynamics showing up, bring it. That's all I got to say. Bring it forward, because a lot, especially for recovering perfectionists and people pleasers, a lot of energy goes towards this stuff when you're in conflict or tension with someone. Trust me, I get it. So bring it immediately, and then we can help disarm the energy. Okay. So Millie, for this dynamic, what's so cool is that you're aware of the cycle now. Okay. And this is a perfect example of exactly what I'm talking about, of next level feminine leadership looks like going first outside of you being in a fight with her. So what that could look like is just a heartfelt conversation. You know, if I were in your shoes, I'd say like, hey, can we go to coffee? Or, hey, can we FaceTime? I like the stuff like face to face, because I feel like there's more, real-time information. And I would just like get together with her and say either like, there's something on my heart that I really want to navigate with you. Like, would you be open to that? So to set a little context for the conversation, or just show up and like, no, she's your dear friend and you can just dive in, So the cycle can be definitely spoken to. And what it comes down to is that it is, number one, a co-creation on some level. Like, I just go in knowing that. I'm like, there is half of this dynamic that's happening that's mine to own and to learn from and resolve within myself in order for this to change. Okay, so that's number one, knowing. And the second part is, it's not your shit. Like, knowing what's not mine. If I'm hearing any kind of reflection of like, you're making me feel X, Y, and Z, literally impossible. Like, I can't make anyone feel a certain way. I can do or say or be a certain way that triggers stuff up in them, right? Or I can act and say and be and feel outside of congruence with myself, which causes issues. That's totally possible. But I can't make someone feel that way. Anyway, even joyful, like I can't. So this is an opportunity for you to set a boundary of what's mine and what's hers, right? So coming to the conversation and just saying like, I notice that we're in this like 6-month cycle, and what I am experiencing the cycle to be, and for any of these conversations, speaking from your own experience is going to save you a lot of miscommunication, grief, and trouble. What I've noticed that our cycle is that about every 6 months, it's usually when I'm in a more inward phase, I notice that we get into these like explosive conversations where we say things we don't mean and things get really like heightened and it just doesn't feel good. And then I'm in this emotional hangover, questioning myself and all this stuff. And I just don't want to put my energy there anymore. And then another 6 months later, you're in a similar, it's kind of like when I'm in a down, you're in a high. And when you're in a high, I'm in, the opposite. And this happens a lot, just flashing out of this conversation. This happens a lot in my friendships. I have a group text of the 3 of us. There's 3 friends, and it's like one day one will be like kind of going through something and the other 2 is like, you got this, like giving reflections, or 2 will be down and 1 is up. It's very rare where all 3 of us are in the shitter together. But it is becoming more common where all 3 of us are like feeling really solid and good. So these kind of rhythms and cycles are super normal and super natural. And the fact that you can see them is the basis of this whole conversation. So it's a very valuable thing. So just note, like saying what the cycle is, right? Just laying it out, because most likely, again, this is one of those superpowers that you have, Millie. You can connect dots that most people don't see. You have so much training in doing that, even in our conversation with your body, of like mapping how that energy is moving through your body while you have flu-like symptoms. Like, I don't even know if I'd be totally open and willing to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like that takes a lot of just like focus and skill. And you're just like, yeah, it's fun. Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's just so easy for you. So don't forget that you also bring all of those skills to a conversation like this too. So you can likely see something that she can't. So the co-creation looks like not having the conversation allows her and you to live and continue in default. Having the conversation opens up a new possibility. And that's where you're owning your part and showing up and leading the conversation before a blowout has to happen. Okay. So in that conversation, just naming what you see and then also naming what you desire instead. You know, that's the core piece too. Like, hello, we gotta create the vision of what we want to see. So for everyone else listening, going first, these are the threads. Going first to have an uncomfortable conversation or a clearing conversation. Stating your experience. I feel, I know, I experience. And then also volunteering another way. What else could be possible? You know, and Millie, that's for you to reflect on.
Okay.
What is an ideal? And go ideal. Go super ideal. Like so mind-blowingly ideal. Because it's kind of like reach for the moon, land within, you know, among the stars. You may not get exactly what you set out to create, but you will definitely get something so much better than where you're at.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, I already have ideas of what I'm going to do.
Awesome.
Yeah. This
is it, ladies. Like, it looks like we think we have to be on stages to be a feminine leader. Mm-hmm. It's conversations with our sisters. It's conversations with our families. It's conversations with ourselves. Are we nourishing ourselves and showing up in a congruent way? Awesome. So on the ground level feminine conversation of creating more feminine balance with our masculine and even creating healthier masculine, like I could lead it, but I also feel like there's like a question bubbling to the surface. Maybe not even a question, but like a something. I don't know. It's something. I'm feeling maybe like Krista Gianna potentially.
I was feeling like Krista, but.
What is your experience right now, Krista?
Well, honestly, y'all, I am not trying to back out of this, but my throat literally hurts to talk.
Yeah.
Girl, I'm impressed you're even with us today.
I really just feel like my head is going to explode. So I'm just taking it in. If y'all will just let me be and just be here and experience it, I think that's the only energy I can give right now.
Perfect.
Awesome. Way to honor yourself. Thank you.
Isn't it gorgeous to see a woman just like own her moment?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, Krista, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed that you're here with us and that you want to just like be in our energy while you're feeling like not fun.
Thank you.
All right, loves. So when it comes to the everyday, let's talk about ways where we can implement some more balance in our everyday worlds, especially right now. Like we're in December, we're in this space of kind of reflecting on the year, reflecting on where we want to go for 2018. So this is a beautiful way. I was actually one of the women in my Empress Rising Mastermind, which is my upper level mastermind for continuing all conversations around feminine leadership. We have last week we had, get this, we had a guest speaker, a friend of mine, Nika Carly, come in to talk about how erotic energy can be leveraged in feminine leadership.
Nice.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah. It was amazing. Like wow. She was like this fire hose of like just sensuality and like new possibilities and just so much. Like I learned so much, the women. So we were like digesting that conversation over the past week. I had an extra call with them just to make sure they felt supported. But, last night there was a woman in my mastermind who she's like, okay, I'm looking at the structure of my upcoming year, and I started to see all the things that are already in motion and get completely overwhelmed. Like my default was like, how in the hell am I going to do all of this? Clearly really resonates. And she's like, and then I realized, wait a second, I've done all the planning for the doing. I haven't done the planning for how I want to feel next year while I do and create and be all of that. And I'm like, girl, way to catch yourself. Yes. And so what she did was get clear on her, top core desired feelings, echoing, the Danielle Laporte work of the desire map. And the minute she got clear on how she wanted to feel, she started feeling exactly those things and started feeling so much more optimistic about her year. She's like, I got this. It's actually feeling so much more spacious than it did before. And then she also asked, she's like, and also I want to bring more feminine energy to my structure for how I go about my months. And she's like, what was it again that you shared about how our feminine menstrual cycle mirrors the energy throughout the month and stuff like that? I'm like, oh, I got you. So that experience and what she was talking about is essentially each phase of our cycle correlates to a phase of the year. Meaning when we're bleeding, when we're on our period, that's our winter cycle. We're letting go. It's more inward. It's more restful. It's like hibernation, right? Of winter right now. Then we go into the spring where, our energy is rising. We're starting to do more outward things. And then the summer is ovulation when we're just beaming and time to get stuff done. And then fall comes where it's premenstrual and it's starting to go inward again, closing up loose ends. And then here we are again. So what I have known to do, and I'm still playing with the structure, but I'm giving this as an example of how we can bring more feminine and healthy masculine into the dynamics, especially as we're kind of bridging the years, is I know that on my heavy days, I'm not going to be on camera much. I'm not going to be in long enrollment conversations back to back to back. I know that doesn't serve me, and I can't, it's just so many levels. You guys get it. It's just so many levels of pushing myself beyond what my body can do. Right. So that's an example of okay, next level. How do we allow more of our feminine forward? And the root of the conversation of erotic energy to feminine leadership actually came to womb wisdom. Wisdom of our womb space. Listening to our yoni, our vagina, factoring in her into the greater scale of our life. So that might be a really cool way to even kick off this conversation in your own experience is, what would my womb say? Have I checked in with this part of myself? Does she have a seat at the table of my life? Mine didn't for a long time.
The womb wisdom you talk about, when we think about the 7 energy centers, the root is also associated with our reproductive organs. I think that's one of those are.
Yeah,
I think it's the
sacral as well.
Yeah. And so, and both of those tend to take on a lot of masculine connotation when we think about getting in touch with the root or the sacral, because it's our power center. So even when we're doing certain meditations, even in certain Kundalini classes I've taken, it always has this masculine undertone when people speak about it. But when we actually think about what's going on, the power is actually feminine. It's creative and it's it's expansive and all of that. And so that makes sense.
That makes sense.
But it just it makes sense. But it also once I because same thing, like when I was studying Chinese medicine and the cycles that women go through and the cycles that men go through, and then even the cycles of our cycles, and then all of that, there's this whole different type of energetics that takes place. Like what was it? So even in sexuality, men tend to bring their energy up from the ground, which is why a lot of like Qigong practices, Tai Chi practices, I don't love, because it's very masculine. Whereas females tend to bring it in from above. It passes through the heart and then to the womb. So when you consider even just sexuality or anything, the more masculine person will draw that energy from the ground and it'll reside in that space. And the more feminine of the person in the relationship will bring it in from the heavens and down to that space. And so even in meditations, sometimes taking note of receiving from above as opposed to just drawing energy from the ground really helps to push that power, because it activates the heart, which is essential in our female physiology. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's awesome. I love
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. That is such a cool depiction
I'm
that I
so
haven't
glad
heard
this
before.
is recorded.
You're like, what did I say?
What did I just channel?
Okay.
I have to write that down.
Makes so much sense. And I think of when I meditate, I connect with my higher self and bring it down. And then I root myself by sending energy from me down.
Yeah.
Right? Which is actually what the earth needs
Instead of
more
down
of.
in. Yeah.
The earth is needing more connection to her. She's given a lot. She's been very patient. Too patient, to be honest. And so for us to be stewards of bringing in source energy and feeding her too, while we feed ourselves.
I've never thought of it that way. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Really
what a
cool.
gift.
And so on Friday, so I get a lot of wisdom from my Tai Chi teacher. He's like, honestly, my spiritual guru / meditation master. And he was explaining, because he actually doesn't know the channels or anything like that. He does, but he doesn't know in the way that I learned. And so the outer aspects of our bodies, those move downward, and simultaneously we are drawing energy up through the medial aspects of our legs and the medial aspects of our arms to bring it towards the dantian, which is basically our sacral chakra, and that's what pushes the energy forward, and that's where we reside from the anterior aspect of the spine. When you consider where your energy draws from, that's where we're going from, as opposed to thinking of all of the external. And so that was really interesting to me, because even when considering the spine, you have the yang side and the yin side, and the yang side is what faces the external world, and the yin side of the spine, which houses the cerebrospinal fluid, is what draws in the yin. And so when he told me, he's like, the power really comes from the CSF and the anterior aspect, I was like, duh, the power comes from the yin, which is the feminine. Now it's so much fun.
Oh, I love the spine.
Right?
I love that. The yin, the CSF is the yin. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that like the three of you really speak body. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that in a Courage Bees class that way. Like, each of you work directly with the human body and people's experiences of their body. That is so cool. So, the more that we all work to embody this knowingness, it emanates out just by being in our field, just by being in the same room. I was doing some Gene Keys reading naturally, literally because of the work you do in yourself and in your body. Your field shifts an entire other collective just by being in the room. And I've heard of these like mystical, magical people who literally just get hired to sit in a room to create change. I'm like, yes, I want that too. Right? Okay, so I want to make sure we bring it together on time. For home play, ask your womb, hands on womb, lead with your left first, your receiving hand, your feminine hand, and hold the feminine with your right hand, okay? So left under, right on top, literally symbolizing this very work that we're doing. With your hand on your sacral chakra, just on your lower belly, ask, what will you have me do? What would you have me say? Who do you want me to be right now? What will you have me do? What will you have me say? Who do you want me to be right now?
Love that. That's so good.
And listen, listen to the ways that your body talks to you. I imagine a lot of you, even from the healing work we've done, I know that all of you are really kinesthetic. So it's coming from your body. I see more predominantly visions, but all of you are really kinesthetic. So that language, the more you build that language and openness with that part of you, all bets are off, sisters, for the kind of wisdom that you're going to be tuning into. Okay. Let us know how it goes in the Facebook group, what you're discovering, some of those aha moments, even challenges. If you're not really like hearing or, able to get the exercise, that's okay too. Bring it forward. We'll be with you in it. Okay. All right, my loves. Wow. Really beautiful conversation. This is definitely one to listen to again. There's a lot of cool, and thank you, like each of you, for your contributions, and then Millie as well for your just insights there. That's super valuable stuff. You're like, I don't remember. It's fine.
I'm going to re-listen just so that I know what I know.
It's all in there. I remember Gianna, she was taking a big test. I'm like, listen, lady, it's all in there. Like, it's all in there.
And I passed. I just found out Yay.
That's awesome.
Oh my God. Did you ever, girl? She's like, this mark is like passing. And she's like, 200-300 points above that. I'm like,
I know.
You kicked us ass.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for celebrating with me, Crystal.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not so great at doing it, so I appreciate it. Your constant example of celebration.
Wait. Yeah, you passed. You kicked that test ass.
Wait, which exam was this?
It was part 1 of the national board exam for chiropractors.
You passed?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I did.
That shit's no joke.
I know. It's not. It's fucking brutal. But I passed. Yes. Yeah.
Celebrate.
Krista, I hope you feel better. Enjoy your rest time with yourself.
Thank you.
Maybe you should take a bath.
Yeah.
I have, yes.
Awesome.
I'll take another one.
Okay. Good for you.
Did you for
you.
your day? Krista, I'll be happy to send you some energy as well to help move it through if you're open to that.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. All right, my loves.
Yay.
Thank you so much. Thanks for playing full out. I'll see you in the group. I'll catch you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, darlings.
Bye.